Iran is risking peace talks with the United States to maintain leverage over the Strait of Hormuz, and according to analysts, that's not recklessness. It's strategy. Here's what's going on. Iran and the United States recently reached a memorandum of understanding, a fragile ceasefire meant to pause a war both sides want out of. But even as that deal was being established, a 4-day cycle of attacks erupted around the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most consequential waterways on the planet. Iran set it off. And analysts say they had very specific reasons for doing so. The Strait of Hormuz is pivotal to the global economy. A significant portion of the world's oil passes through it. And Iran's ability to disrupt traffic through that strait has become, in the words of Ali Vaiz, a senior analyst at the International Crisis Group, their main leverage, both at the negotiating table and on the battlefield. So what triggered this latest flare-up? Last week, Oman and the UN's International Maritime Organization designated a new shipping route through the waterway, one that passes only through Omani territorial waters, effectively bypassing Iran. From Tehran's perspective, that was a direct threat to the one card they're holding. Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, delivered what analysts described as a veiled warning at a news conference in Baghdad, saying, and I'm quoting here, any attempt to adopt new or separate arrangements from those currently being pursued by the Islamic Republic will only lead to further complications, delays in reopening the Strait of Hormuz, and an increase in tensions. Iran never officially claimed responsibility for the strikes that followed, one on a Singapore-flagged container ship on Thursday, another on a vessel on Saturday. But the timing was unmistakable. The U.S. responded with military strikes, Iran retaliated against U.S. targets in the Gulf, and suddenly a ceasefire that had barely taken hold was wobbling. Iran's calculus here is layered. If talks succeed, control over the strait gives them leverage to extract concessions, specifically, relief from years of crippling economic sanctions and possibly the unlocking of billions in frozen assets. If talks fail and war resumes, that same control becomes a military deterrent. As Vaiz put it, best case or worst case scenario, they need this leverage. There's also a trust problem. Some Iranian officials suspect the Trump administration signed the preliminary deal only to buy time, easing economic pressure ahead of U.S. midterm elections before potentially returning to conflict afterward. If that scenario plays out, Iran needs the strait fully in hand. This approach reflects something broader about Iran's new leadership. The country's former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who was killed in the opening salvos of the US-Israeli war with Iran back in February, had long avoided direct confrontation with Washington while also blocking high-level talks. His son and successor, Mojtaba Khamenei, and the political elites around him appear to have a different risk appetite. They're willing to escalate sharply and also willing to negotiate directly at the highest levels. Both at the same time. Iran also may be betting that President Trump has little appetite to restart a full war before the midterms, given how domestically unpopular the conflict has been and how badly it rattled global energy markets. Still, the repeated flare-ups carry a cost. Every time negotiators have to put out a new fire, they lose time and bandwidth to work on the substantive issues, a comprehensive end to the conflict, a nuclear deal, the question of Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. Farzan Sabet of the Geneva Graduate Institute put it plainly, having to constantly manage new crises doesn't bode well for progress on the substantive issues that were supposed to come in this second round of talks. Both sides have real incentives to keep the process alive, the US to avoid an unpopular war, Iran to unlock desperately needed economic relief. Most analysts expect Washington and Tehran to keep extending their initial 60-day negotiating window for many months to come. But a peace process that keeps lurching from one crisis to the next is a peace process that may limp along indefinitely without ever reaching solid ground. This has been your briefing on Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and the high-stakes chess game unfolding beneath a very fragile ceasefire.